fabulous grower, a member of Fairfield Flowers, so you know she's fabulous. And she's going to tell you all about her dahlia growing and how she has managed to thwart the bug of the cornfield. Thank you. Hi everybody, can you hear me? Okay. How many people grow dahlias? Everybody. It's highly priced local flower. And in corn country, we have a couple of bugs that just demolish them. And so, trying year after year to get beautiful dahlias, I finally figured out how to do it.
Please.
Tomorrow you'll be able to see, well, most of you anyway that are coming on the tour will be able to see the different places that we grow dahlias, but they're all inside behind screens. This is our friend, the northern corn rootworm, that just shred zinnias, sunflowers, and dahlias. They love the white, especially. They stay away from red. I'm sure that's a color thing, but they've come out in the GMO corn. One of the differences in the corn is these guys eat the larvae eats the roots, and they're very specific to corn roots. Hence the name corn rootworm. The adult eats darn near everything, and they love flowers.
Are they still a worm when they're adults?
No. No, it's a little green beetle.
Little green bug.
See, it's the little tiny green beetles that you can see. This is what it does on sunflowers. This is what it does on zinnias. With the zinnias and the sunflowers, you can cut them early. So we cut our sunflowers just as the petals are just starting, and then we can open them up in the in the garden center or something, or even in the cooler. But zinnias, cut them early. Again, they tend to go to the whites and the ivories, the limes more. They start in first week of August or so, and then they go till now, till it's too cold. With the sunflowers, especially the joker, it's just thinking about opening its petals, and they're already shredded. So, but with dahlias, there's no, you can't do anything. And then there's these guys, the Japanese beetles, and what the cucumber beetle or the rootworm beetle didn't do, these guys will finish. And on dahlias, on many plants they attack the leaves. Dahlias, they go right for the flowers. And again, they didn't damage the reds as much as all the other colors. The true reds, you don't seem to see them on that much. So after trying them outside very many places, very many times, even in high tunnel without any screening, my husband jokes that we should put one of those, those picnic domes? Put it over the whole farm. just throw everything in a net. So I came up with this, once I tried to figure out how to get more out of, I have a little farm, you'll see it, it's very small. But just so that anyway, I used a 40 and a 50 mesh. 50 mesh will keep the thrips out. But the 50 mesh it cuts down the air circulation. And as you know, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but air circulation is almost the best foil for powdery mildew. You've got to keep that air going through to keep the powdery mildew off. And both 40 and 50 come in different sizes. One comes in a 6.5 foot size, one comes in a 13 foot by 13 foot 2 inch size. So since I really wasn't, I have a good thrips control. I wasn't really after that with this. I just wanted those rootworm beetles and the Japanese beetles. I did a mix because it was a lot less waste. because the screening is pretty expensive. I think I spent about $1,200 on screen, but I've used it a lot and I still have some left, so you know, it goes a long way. So basically what I did is I kind of modified this house. I had them give me higher, longer ground stakes so that I lifted it up a little bit higher, and I put a higher hip board on, and then we just wiggle wire in the screen, and then now you'll see tomorrow we just wiggle wire over the sides and the ends with the poly, and you can get like 3 sets of wiggle wire in the same channel if you're careful. Easily 2. So the screen stays up there the whole time. We put really simple doors on this, mostly for expense. This door comes completely off so the tractor can go in and out, really nice. And then this is the door that we use. It's a total pain in the neck, but it was cheap. This is the way we enter in and out. Tomorrow I'll put a higher board on it, but please be careful, because it just, you know, you hit your head on it. Everybody hits their head on this door. You can see here, there's no space, and in a small farm, why did I waste that space? This year we had, again, a lot of rain in June, and my little farm, I have recaptured land from it in many places. It's about a 4-acre. It's about a 4-acre section, and I farm about 1.5 acres, including all the houses and everything. And there's a lot of gravel, and it's been used for a lot of different things. And I excavated all the gravel, and that's where this house is. And there's another field just to the south end of it. And what did we get, about 18 inches in a week this June, something like that. And the water stayed there. Of course, the dahlias had been planted. They don't like to be wet. So it was a slow start for dahlia season this year, and those empty spaces never did come back. We replanted, but you know, this year I've already talked to the excavator, I've got a plan, so next year the water will flow. But I have some pictures of my feet were completely covered in water when we were cutting, completely. So this tent grows about, if it's full, it grows about 200 dahlias. And we've got now about 400 dahlias on the farm, yeah.
Wait, so just to clarify, there's poly over the top,
yeah,
and the end walls and the sides.
It's all screen.
It's all screen.
Yeah, and then now it's all poly over the screen because it's cold.
Cold, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can winter your dahlias in there then?
Oh no. No, they'll last until, you know, the first really hard frost, you know, mid to late October, they'll go down. Plus, you know, this time of year, you get more dahlias than you know what to do with in, you know, late September and early October. I mean, we just picked almost 200 bunches. That was once, and then the next, you know, a few days later, we picked more. I mean, that's a lot of dahlias for this little space. But when the light gets too low in the sky, they just stop producing, and I don't have anything on lights. Plus, it gets too cold. We're in zone 5 now, 4. It gets cold. The ground freezes by January, late December, something like that. So they turn to mush. No, we dig them all, and we save them and divide them. But I also grow in containers, and I've been growing dahlias in containers ever since I started. And this year, and I have to be honest, we've been certified organic up until this year. And I decided not to do the audit because I'm not doing plants anymore. I'm not doing herbs and vegetable seedlings. I did a lot of herb and vegetable seedlings. And florists really don't care whether the flowers are organic or not. And we started selling our flowers through a distribution center, and actually Pamela Arnowski helped me out with this. Without any kind of preservatives, the flowers were going down, and the florists in these grocery stores were not very happy. And so we started using a couple of different types of preservatives, and we've never had any complaints. In fact, our sales this year are just insane how many bouquets we're building this year. But anyway, so I've always used fertilizers that are OMRI certified. And this year I used this liquid fertilizer, Nature's Choice, and it's a 3-1-1. And I use it to fertigate the fields and such. Well, I kind of decided, well, I could still sell the farm organic if I only used this other kind of fertilizer in the containers. So I tried out their 10, I think it's listed in here, 1068 or whatever it is. My dahlias are just kicking ass in those containers. So much better than the organic fertilizer. Sorry guys, but it's, the nitrogen is a lot more available. There's a lot more of it. I know organic growers are not going to be happy with me, but they're just really happy with this non-organic fertilizer. Anyway, I digress. So all of the, I have two different places where the dahlias are grown in containers, and they're all on drip. They're all on timers, and they're all supported as best I can. Supporting is really hard for me and dahlias. This was grown in my high tunnel. This works pretty well, supporting the dahlias with the netting. It doesn't work with Naomi or Cafe au lait. It works with the ones that hold themselves up on their own. So why bother supporting them? In this little house, it's a series of bamboo stakes and a webbing of jute twine back and forth, holding them up, and that works pretty well. And there's all sizes in the containers. I just wanted, anytime you're doing containers, you've got to have it on a timed irrigation because you forget. You go out and you turn it on, and then 2 days later, one of your employees comes in and says, that water's still on? But anyway, and you can see how nice, how good our water is. We have, we're in the Galena area, which was lead mining. So we have a lot of iron bacteria in the water, and very high carbonate, very high carbonate. So I have to clean that filter out. That's this guy here. There's a filter right in here, and you have to clean that out because it gets absolutely caked with iron bacteria. So these are in the greenhouse that you'll see tomorrow, and what we did is when I first started in the greenhouse, I built rolling benches. The greenhouse is now, it's a little bit different now, but it utilized up to like 86% of the space with these rolling benches. So there's one aisle at any one time because you can just push them all off, back and forth. Well, I took the benches off here, and they're now on the ground, and these are the supports. And so we put the netting on the supports, the bench supports, and that's working really well. The thing is that they're so happy in there that they get almost bigger than the supports. So it really takes some careful cutting to keep them, in line. They're also all on microtube drip, the little 1/4-inch microtubes. And, it takes a while to set it up, and it's a little bit of an expense, but I never have to worry about it. And, if you have a place to grow stuff in containers, I highly recommend putting them in on irrigation. We do a lot in the greenhouse with containers. I put all my scented geraniums, and we've got agapanthus and rosemary and lavender and all kinds of stuff like that in the greenhouse.
You take them out, or you take them out of the containers?
Yeah. We do try to save all. It's not going to go back. Okay, go forward. We do try to save all the dahlias. We dig them and kind of clean them off. I don't clean them really, really well. We put them in bulb crates and then cover them with mulch. Or first dust them with like a sulfur dust. It's called garden dust, and it's got sulfur and pyrethrum in it. And I keep them in my cooler, which is off, but it's cool. It stays like 40 degrees and it's dark all winter long. And we get a pretty good return. And then we divide them and plant them.
You just put one little tuber?
I divide them in spring, yeah.
You just do one little tuber, or you do a whole?
Oh, we do it the best we can. We're not professional dividers, but we try to get them down to one or two. Again, this one's on, so what's going on there? This one is also on a timer, and then we've got, I've got a manifold down here that splits to a bunch of different places. So each line, as you saw, is on its own line. And then I needed another one, so we teed off that. And the filter has to be cleaned regularly. It just really does. You all might have really good water. I don't. Back there.
How long will you continue to cut them into the fall?
I have cut dahlias for Thanksgiving dinner. That's the longest I've ever done it in the greenhouse. Yeah. In the high tunnel, which is not heated. It's like I don't think they survived by Halloween. When we get at 24 degrees, 23 degrees, the tunnel only holds what's the difference of about 8 degrees, 6 or 8 degrees. So they go down with 24 degrees. But in the greenhouse, I have heat, so I can turn the heater on to 32 or 34, something like that. I have thermostats that I hovered around 32 to 35. That's about as warm as I do it in the winter. Yeah.
You mentioned the fertilizing. You use like a dosatron or what?
Yes. Yeah, and you can squeeze in and see it. It's really pretty spiffy. And I'm not real, I tried to be real scientific with my doses, and it was kind of tricky. I used a fellow in Ohio, Advanced Eco Agriculture, really neat young man, and the dosatron to try to come up with an exact figure for these dahlias. But see, there's not science on cut flowers and fertilizer, liquid fertilizer.
What is roughly the ratio?
So roughly what I do is I pour a half a 5-gallon bucket of fertilizer and then fill it up with water, and I have it set at 250. I have the dosatron set at 250.
250 to 1.
Yeah.
And what were the numbers on the 2.5 gallons you put in there?
Yeah.
It was like 6.
I fill the 5-gallon bucket halfway, and then I fill the rest of that with water. So it's a 50 to 1 or a 1-to-1 dilution, right? 50% dilution of the fertilizer, and then the dosatron is set at 250.
And the numbers on the fertilizer are what?
10.43. So it says, yep, 10.43. And so if you're a chemist, you could
all
figure.
The time that's continuous?
No. About 3 weeks, every 3 weeks. Yeah. And the ones in the ground, I don't feed that often. But see, you have to remember, I have such nasty water. I have it's like about 400 parts. Is it in the water samples? It's parts per million, right? 490, 500 parts carbonate in my water, and it prevents the nutrients from going into the soil. So with this fertilizer, though, it is not tying it up. With the organic fertilizers, it ties it up. So, I mean, I've had yellow dahlias. Now they're green and they're blooming. So something with the chemistry is working well. Maybe you could help me out tomorrow. I don't know. Yes.
Can you talk about the potting mix or whatever you're growing?
Yeah, I use. It's in the handout.
Oh, okay.
No, I can talk about it now. I use a Premier Horticultural HPCC with mycorrhizae. And then again, it's very scientific. I use Vermont compost. I bring 2 or 3 totes of Vermont compost in, and it's about a 5 to 6 to 1. So it's 5 to 6 parts of the potting soil and a part of compost. And then I use Sustain 464 at planting, and I also give it a handful of sulfur, which helps with the pH of my water and of the, the thing with a container is there's not much buffering capacity with this nasty water, and I have not invested in acidifying the water on an automatic basis. In the soil, there's a lot more buffering capacity, so you don't have that problem. So that's what I do, and then in the containers you just have to feed them because they go down really, really fast, and dahlias are really heavy feeders. So yeah.
Why are you growing in containers? Why are you growing?
Because I can get more of them.
Okay. Like you can fit more. What do you mean you can get more? Why?
Because I don't have any more. I don't have another dahlia tunnel.
Okay, and you're only growing in tunnels now.
Dahlias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's just. I'm surrounded by conventional crops. I mean, I am this little tiny. This year was a good year for me because it was almost all beans. And see, when the beans are planted, we don't have the corn beetle. Next year it'll be bad.
And you can fit more plants.
Exactly.
In the hoophouse.
It's just it's for that end of the year cash flow.
But what about the other stuff, geranium and everything? Is there a reason?
Well, I have this wonderful greenhouse.
Yes.
So I got to fill it up. Yes.
What size pots are you using?
These are 22-inch. When I started Bright Flower, I was going to set the world on fire with container-grown vegetable gardens. So I have if anybody wants to buy some containers really cheap, I have some. So I have lots. Yes.
Do you have any problem with earwigs?
Very little. Very little. Earwigs. Do I have problems with earwigs? And this year I really don't ever have a huge problem with earwigs.
But Diane,
Yes.
In the containers, do you have issues with the wind blowing over the pots when they get big, or is the support netting enough to keep them off?
Well, they're in tunnels.
Okay.
And the screen makes a big difference because it cuts the wind down so much. So no, I do not. Or in the greenhouse. And there's no wind. I mean, these are all hard sidewalls. Yeah.
Do they don't get too hot in there with the sun coming? Did you have plastic on the top?
I do, but this year last year it was time to put a new lid on, and we put this Cool Ray. The bottom, it's a double poly roof, and the bottom layer is called Cool Ray, and I didn't even have to spray shade on them. So and then I've got it's a big vent and 2 big exhaust fans, and then fans inside. So not so bad. Yes.
This year with my dahlias, I had a lot of foliar growth, not a lot of flowers. Is that nutrient? Is that for
Probably too much nitrogen.
too much nitrogen?
Probably. Not enough phosphorus. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where you're growing your dahlias in the high tunnel, do you grow them in the high tunnel every year, or do you have to worry
Yes.
about changing, changing location?
I do not change the locations. That's the only thing that What's that?
That's good to hear, because I want to do it too, and I don't have room for.
Yeah, that's the only thing on the farm that we don't rotate. Yeah. This year I'm planning on planting ranunculus in there, so we'll see how that's going to work. But what I'm planning on doing is planting the dahlias in gallon pots and planting them out alive rather than planting them in the tunnel, maybe alive, and then the water washes them away, and so that's my new idea. This is what we did in the greenhouse. It's a really simple fix. This is the vent, and we just put channel on the outside. You know, we just screwed in the channel and wiggle wired it. And so the exhaust fans are on the other side, and it just brings the air through that screen. And there's a little bit of bugs, but nothing serious. But it's really simple. You know, we had started thinking that we were going to build this great cage and over the vent on the outside, and then it's, you know, one of these aha moments in the middle of the night. It's like, oh, let's just do it on the inside. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my pest control, because you know, keeping the plant healthy is probably the biggest key to pest control. I've eliminated 95% of the insect pressure, except for the little guys. We do get some mites, aphids, thrips, powdery mildew. The mites are the worst when it's really, really hot. Thrips, I use a hypoaspis mite. It's a predatory mite, and it works awesome. And then the minute pirate beetle, which is the little booger that bites you outside, the no-see-ums, you know, they're wicked biters, but they do such a good job. And you'll probably be able to see them, especially on the white dahlias. They're just working away, eating those little, and they eat thrips, mites, and aphids too. So I just buy the insects. I buy the, you know, in these little plastic jugs and release them, and that predatory mite is the best for thrips. Just the very best.
Where do you get your, where do you get that?
I get them from Rincon Vitova. They're in California. I probably didn't put that on there. It's on the back. Is it on there? Yeah, it's on the back. They're really, really nice people. They grow some of their own insects, and then they get them from, I think it's in England, someplace in England is where an awful lot of them come. But they're very reasonable. And you have to get your order in almost a week in advance, because they only ship like on a Monday or something. The other thing is, you know, powdery mildew, and all of these things, I have a threshold that's kind of acceptable. I mean, you know, if you scrutinize my dahlias tomorrow, you'll find a few aphids, and you'll find a few thises and that's, but, you know, if I can still just wipe off the aphids, I don't go crazy spraying anymore. If I can blow them off, you know, if they're not causing a problem, if they're really, if sometimes it's almost like they were dropped from above onto one dahlia, you know, and there's just like a million of them, I just cut the whole branch off and get rid of it. You know, I do that more than go crazy with spraying, because a lot of these sprays will ruin the flowers, and I've got some pictures of what they do. But I highly recommend this, the predatory mite and the minute pirate beetle. They really do a good job. And it saves you time, so you don't have to spray. For aphids, if you do have a really bad, and again, see, I do all this organically, so I don't use anything, I don't know how to use the really nasties, so these are all approved, except I just learned that the Mycotrol O is being replaced with Mycotrol ECS or something like that. There was a carrier in that product that Omri decided is no longer acceptable, so it is no longer. For mites, though, too, the Suffix oil is a really good product that you can spray on the flowers. It does an excellent job if you didn't go the mite, the new pirate beetle action or method. that Suffolk soil works really well for mites. You have to get under the leaves, and it's kind of hard to do that with a backpack sprayer. I have a big, neat, big sprayer that, it's a wonderful tool. I love my big sprayer. But anyway, for powdery mildew, it's air circulation. There's certainly varieties that are a lot worse than others, and I have one that I was going to probably just take out before the tour, but you'll see a little bit of powdery mildew. But millstop and cease and oxidate, I rotate that group. I tank mix, millstop and cease, and then I rotate it with oxidate, and that works really well. Yeah.
What do you think are the most resistant varieties of dahlias?
Well, in all of my dahlias, Carol, I have one that's nasty, and so it's not going in the ground again. So I have the map at home. I was going to try to put little name tags on all of them, but I didn't get to it. But I can tell you which is not a good one.
Which one is it?
Well, I'll show you tomorrow. I don't have the map in my head.
Well, I've noticed that Naomi and Cafe au lait are pretty resistant.
They're very resistant, yeah. And the white Martin van Zwan, or Martin, whatever his name is, he's resistant. A lot of my reds, they're resistant. So this is what cease and Mycotrol do. See, it browns the edges. And this time when you have so many dahlias, you want to cut everything before you spray, but you can't get it all. And so these are, that's what happens. So then you have to pull all the bottom leaves off if you're going to sell them. So that's why I try to, to make them healthy enough and keep the boogers away from them so they don't have to spray.
I'm sorry, Jean?
Yeah.
Will that only happen if the flowers are fully open, or does that?
Yeah, if you can do it on a bud, it won't do it.
Okay.
Right. But, when do you just have buds in your dahlias? So this is what we do as far as container growing. And that's in your handout too. The Sustain is a really nice product. It's a slow release, and it is OMRI certified. It's a really, really nice product. It's a composted turkey manure made in Minnesota, I believe. I think that's it. Oh, no. I kind of went through the pros and cons, just kind of to summarize. And you'll see how small we are tomorrow. And to get this many dahlias, the only way I could do it is to put them in containers, in addition to the tunnel. And as I also said, we just have been picking. I delivered 46 bunches this morning before I came here, and we picked another 550 for bouquets. Tomorrow is our bouquet building day. You'll see us in action. And then we'll pick again, on Friday. So it's holding us, it's keeping color in the bouquets is what it's doing. And we get, for a 5-stem bunch, we get almost $10. Now, I know that's different depending on where you live. I know on the East Coast they don't get that much, and Janet, I don't know what you guys get, but you don't get that much either.
Well, they get a $9 for 4 stems of Cafe au lait, but it's like $6. Well, it's like $6 at the growers market, and but the wholesale house I sell in, it's like $3 a bunch for a 5-stem bunch. That's what the wholesaler sells for.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mentioned in the Twin Cities, I sell cafe au laits to designers for $3.50 a piece. They have like 40 plants that can be growing up.
Yeah. My cafe au laits have just started blooming. That's how hard I had this year. I mean, it's like, and then they're going to freeze. But the suckers are like bad. The thing is that they're such a highly desirable local cut flower because they don't ship. And the event designers, everybody wants dahlias. It's in the spring, it's ranunculus and peonies. It's always garden roses. But, you know, when the dahlia season is on, every single stem is sold. So it's good for your cash flow. So I recommend them. You know, we put them in bouquets. It's elegant color to put in the grocery store bouquets. And they're pretty easy to save. They really are pretty easy to save. And we divide them and increase we divide them, and I would say we're probably 70 or 80%, Okay.
You mentioned using 2 holding solutions for your dahlias. What are those 2 holding solutions?
Well, we use 2 different things. We put it's the same thing that we've talked about. We put, the only holding solution is that, was a Chrysol Professional 2 is what we use. But we put a pill, a GERB pill in everything now instead of bleach because it lasts longer. And that's a Chrysol product again. I think, was it CVBN? M. And it's like $45 for 800 pills. And it's 1 pill per bucket. And it's totally worth it. And the flowers, the staying power now, because we're using that Chrysol Professional 2, it's night and day. It really has been a big difference, yeah.
Tip them? We tip ours.
No, I'm really new to the floral products business, so this is all I use. They work. I haven't gotten into quick dip yet. Yeah.
So if you cut earlier in the week for later delivery or farmers market sales, are you putting them in a cooler? And if so, at what temperature?
So we don't do farmers markets. I don't know, Carol could talk farmers markets and dahlias, but our schedule is I cut Saturdays for Monday event designer deliveries,
Mm-hmm.
and their events are going to be Saturday, Sunday. Okay,
Ooh.
And I cut into that Professional 2 with a GERB pill, and then they go right into the cooler.
Okay, and what temperature?
I think it's 38.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we cut today for the bouquets, and the bouquets are built tomorrow, and then they're delivered. They're delivered to a floral distribution center Wednesday, and then they go to the DC Thursday, and then they're in the grocery stores Friday. And so they're in the cool that whole time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you put the GERB pill in the buckets, what do you use the holding solution for? Are you doing both the holding solution and the pill in the bucket, or what's the?
For the dahlias and all spiked flowers, we cut into that holding solution. For zinnias and sunflowers, it's just the pill.
For 30 years. So.
Right. But then for the bouquets, they all get a pill and a holding solution.
Even if they have zinnias in them?
Yep. The zinnias are almost done now, though. I mean, we did pick some yesterday, but they're not looking so good. they get kind of weird looking this time of year. Yeah.
What foliar diseases do you have and how do you deal with them?
You know, the only foliar disease I get on dahlias is that powdery mildew, and I spray, but I'm just watching. I'm in the dahlias almost every day, and right now that powdery mildew's on 1 variety still. So I'm reluctant to spray because it ruins the flowers, unless I have to. And that's really all I get.
We put horizontal air fans into our dahlia house, and it made a remarkable difference on foliar issues. Just keeping air moving 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, I live in Stockton, Illinois, which the air moves 24 hours, so I don't need fans.
It moves into little too.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I bet. I don't have electricity in there, but that would help, definitely. I don't have anything in there. Yes?
But the air movement,
It's key.
It's almost like
Yeah.
a different growing zone.
Oh, yeah.
Where the fans hit and where the fans don't.
Right. In the greenhouse, I think I've got like 6 fans now, plus the The exhaust, you know, that whole thing. There's a lot of fans going in there. Yes?
How many tubers do you put in your 20-inch container?
Just one.
And are they just the pencil size? Or?
Some of them are, and some of them might be, you know, two tubers, but yeah. And you'll see how big they are. They're. I had the furnaces repaired today and, or, you know, clean and checked today, because we got down into the 40s, and the house that I live in is a tuna can, and it's as cold inside as it is outside. And so I had to get my furnace fixed, and so that when I get mine done, then I have the houses done too, the greenhouses. But the dahlia that's under this is a variety called Nicholas that I got from Arrowhead Dahlias. And those are ASCFG. They're really cute young people. And they're in like south of Fort Collins and north of Boulder, or yes, north of Denver. But anyway, it's like, you know, it's so big in the container, so we had to whack it back to half so that the guy could come in and fix the heater. Yes?
Do you do any pruning? I mean, when they're small, do you prune any?
I do. We actually cut when they get, what is it, like three or four nodes, we cut them in half, and then we pull the sprouts off to a certain extent. But in the containers, they get a lot more water sprouts, you know. So, but each water sprout has a flower, so, you know, just cut them low. But I don't do much of any other pruning other than because I have to, because they're, like, you know, growing in the aisles. Okay.
So back to the insect netting.
Yes.
I've noticed in the catalogs it's quite pricey. Have you projected the payback period?
We've already paid back.
You have.
Yep, this is the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is your netting like cloth? Because I see like at the Far West show they have like this cloth that's sewn. Or is yours like metal?
No, it's like cloth. Are you going to be on the tour tomorrow? Yeah? You'll see it. It's soft. It's very pliable. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it is pricey, but I've already paid for it. Already this year I figured out. Yeah. Yes?
Do you have varieties you
You know, there's a few Karma varieties that you just can't do without. Naomi is one. That's an ever-blooming burgundy. It's just as strong as can be, and you can get it from the Dutch. You can get tubers too. You don't have to get, you know, the cuttings, so you don't have to get, you know, 100 or 90 or whatever it is in the cuttings, which is the way I did it. Because cuttings in the organic system, cuttings aren't allowed, but the tubers are. The tubers fall under the sweet potato category. So, but Naomi, and then the white Karma, it's, help me out. Martin Van Swan is just a overachiever for white. What's the Uptown Girl for, and then Robin Hood. Uptown Girl and Robin Hood are excellent peachy, pinky, coral, whatever that they all have to have. Great balls, you'll see those. Other than that, you know, I try new ones all the time, and the growers, I listed 3 or 4 dahlia growers that I get dahlias from. I always get new ones, and all of those will give me suggestions for cut flowers, so I rely on them. There's some that are duds and I don't grow them again, but you know, this year we did one, I got it from the Tallgrass Prairie. She had somebody didn't buy a bunch of her dahlias, and so she offered them cheap in these big groups, and I took one, and one of them in there, we call it ketchup and mustard, but it's called Tyler James. It is just spectacular. I mean, I'm not crazy about red and yellow, but this one just blows your socks off. It's pretty amazing.
Is it that one?
No, it's similar. I mean, it's not a water lily like this, but it's the stalks. I mean, it's got tree stumps.
That's Akita.
Oh, this one's Akita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend.
But it's floppy. you can see that it's got a floppy stem. This one, oh, they're big as my thumb, the stem. It's just phenomenal.
So where did you say you got the tubers of the karmas?
Oh, you know, I've been in the nursery business for many, many, many years, and so I had a long-standing relationship with a broker called McKewan, so that's where I got them, through McKewan. But it's Dutch, you know, it's Dutch, so you can talk to anybody who sells. Swan Island? Can you get Naomi from Swan Island? I don't know if I've seen
I
it.
don't know, you can do an internet search and I found them online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Edney
Edney might have
has
them, yeah.
them.
They're,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of Dutch stuff. And Martin, you can get, yeah. Yeah.
Through Floor Abundance, you can buy wholesale dahlia tubers. They're out of California. I got 80 Cafe LA tubers for $150.
Floor Abundance?
Yeah.
The pink cafe au lait or the mocha cafe au lait? Anybody else?
Getting back to your pink or your,
I have some of each.
how do you determine which? You never know, right?
No, you don't.
You roll the dice and you get what you get.
Although there is a difference in the time of year too. They all tend to be a lot more mocha colored at the end of the season. But no, you can't tell. Yes?
Do you guys have a problem with spider mites?
You know, I had a little bit of mite problem when the greenhouse was really, 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 really hot. I did not get it at all in the tunnel. I don't usually get it in the tunnel. It's usually in where they get so hot, you know. But that Suffix oil works really well on spider mites, and it does not damage the flowers, which is really important.
Is it lightweight or is it?
Very light, very light. Yeah, it comes in it almost looks like marshmallow fluff. It's thick, white, creamy stuff, and you add it to water, it dissolves very easily. So, great. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.